by any means necessary. We've drawn up a
White Panther Party, and no, not no white supremacy.
Well, basically, the play to put me in this was
White Panther Party, founded in 1968 by poet and...
Came here not only to help John.
Everybody was on my side. It was the most beautiful.
The White Panther Party WPP was founded in November 1968 in Michigan by John Sinclair, Lenny Sinclair, and Lawrence Pun Plamondon. Its creation was directly inspired by a call from Black Panther leader Huey P. Newton for white radicals to organize their own support movement in solidarity with Black liberation. The WPP emerged during a period of deep political unrest, racial tension, and cultural rebellion. Detroit, where the WPP was born, had recently experienced the devastating 1967 uprising sparked by police brutality, which left 43 people dead and the city in chaos. The founding members of the WPP were already deeply entrenched in Detroit's countercultural scene, having been part of the Detroit Artists Workshop, a collective that promoted jazz, poetry, and communal living while attracting the scrutiny of local police. The WPP founders lived in a communal house under the name Trans Love Energies, which provided shelter and support for those affected by the 1967 riots. When they raised a banner reading, "Burn, baby, burn." During the rebellion, they were targeted with increased police raids, reinforcing their view of the state as an oppressive force. This only deepened their commitment to creating a white revolutionary organization in line with the ideals of the Black Panther Party. Their experience of police surveillance and harassment solidified their understanding of systemic oppression, and they vowed to challenge it not just through protest, but through cultural revolution. Initially rooted in Detroit, the WPP quickly moved operations to Ann Arbor, Michigan in 1969. The change was strategic. Ann Arbor, a liberal college town, offered a more hospitable environment for organizing and outreach. The party's headquarters at 1520 Hill Street became a hub of revolutionary and countercultural activity, attracting students, artists, and anti-war activists. John Sinclair, a noted poet and music promoter, also managed the radical rock band MC5, which helped merge political messaging with music, further amplifying the group's visibility. As they set up in Ann Arbor, the White Panthers launched the Ann Arbor Sun, an underground newspaper that served as a mouthpiece for their ideology and initiatives. Their cultural and political presence grew quickly, earning them a reputation not only as radical activists, but also as community builders and cultural rebels. Through music festivals, communal kitchens, and political education programs, the WPP carved out a unique space in the revolutionary landscape of the late 1960s and early 1970s. Their formation was not an attempt to appropriate the struggle of the Black Panthers, but to stand as comrades in revolution, using their white identity to dismantle white supremacy from within. The White Panther Party's vision was radical, idealistic, and intentionally provocative. Modeled closely after the Black Panther Party's 10-point program, the WPP developed its own manifesto calling for total social, political, and cultural liberation. Their program included demands for free food, free education, free medical care, the abolition of money, and the end of war, prisons, and corporate control. They also called for unfettered access to media and technology, positioning themselves as advocates for a society built on cooperation rather than competition. This revolutionary vision was intertwined with their embrace of the counterculture, where sex, drugs, and rock and roll were seen as tools of liberation rather than distractions. Unlike many white activist groups of the time, The White Panthers explicitly identified as anti-racist and saw their role not as leaders, but as supporters of Black, Latino, and Indigenous liberation. They accepted Huey Newton's challenge as a mandate to organize white communities against capitalism, imperialism, and systemic racism. The WPP's ideology combined elements of Marxism, anarchism, and cultural revolution, resulting in a platform that was both politically radical and culturally transgressive. They promoted what they called a total assault on the culture, advocating for the destruction of traditional values that upheld racism, patriarchy, and classism. Their methods included not just political action, but also cultural expressions like poetry, performance art, and especially music. The band MC5, managed by John Sinclair, served as a sonic embodiment of the WPP's ideals, often opening shows with revolutionary slogans and turning concerts into political rallies. The WPP believed that art and activism were inseparable in the quest for liberation. The party also emphasized community and collective living. Their communal houses were both organizing spaces and experiments in alternative lifestyles that rejected consumerism and hierarchy. Their commitment to mutual aid, whether through food distribution, free concerts, or underground publishing, demonstrated a belief that revolution began with how people live their daily lives. This blending of ideology and lifestyle became a hallmark of the White Panther Party's purpose and appeal. The White Panther Party's most profound impact was in Michigan, particularly Detroit and Ann Arbor. In Detroit, the group's confrontations with police and support for the 1967 rebellion marked them as a serious threat to law enforcement. Their early efforts to publish underground literature, run communal spaces, and support the Black Panther Party through distribution of its newspaper laid the groundwork for their move to Ann Arbor. In Ann Arbor, the WPP flourished. Their Hill Street commune became a hub for radical activism, attracting students, musicians, and disaffected youth. The city's liberal atmosphere allowed them to organize concerts, operate a free store, and launch the influential Ann Arbor Sun. Perhaps the most publicized moment in their history came during the campaign to free John Sinclair after he was sentenced to 10 years in prison for giving 2 marijuana joints to an undercover agent. The Free John Sinclair movement culminated in a massive 1971 rally that brought together John Lennon, Yoko Ono, Stevie Wonder, Bobby Seale, and thousands of activists. The event drew national attention and highlighted the WPP's ability to unite cultural and political forces. Just days after the rally, Sinclair was released from prison, underscoring the WPP's impact on public consciousness and legal reform. Outside Michigan, the WPP established smaller chapters, notably in Portland, Oregon, and San Francisco, California. In Portland, their presence was short-lived due to FBI raids and arrests connected to anti-draft actions. However, it showed the White Panthers' appeal to anti-war youth across the country. In San Francisco and the broader Bay Area, the WPP contributed to mutual aid networks, notably organizing a food co-op system that served thousands of low-income families. Their presence in California persisted into the 1980s, with notable involvement in the attempted 1983 recall of San Francisco Mayor Dianne Feinstein, demonstrating their continued engagement in radical politics. The White Panther Party's cultural influence extended beyond direct political action. Their integration of music, art, and revolutionary politics helped shape the landscape of protest culture. The MC5's alignment with the WPP pioneered the use of music as a vehicle for radical expression, influencing later punk and activist music scenes. Their belief in making revolution fun through street theater, concerts, and radical art set them apart from more austere leftist groups. Their local impacts were lasting, especially in Ann Arbor, where they helped create a political climate that led to the early decriminalization of marijuana and a sustained commitment to progressive city governance. The cooperative and cultural institutions they helped build served as models for grassroots organizing and left a legacy that shaped how future generations approached community activism and solidarity. The dissolution of the White Panther Party was the result of a combination of external repression and internal evolution. From its earliest days, the WPP was under surveillance by the FBI and targeted through the Counterculture program, which sought to disrupt and neutralize radical political organizations. Members like Pun Plamondon and John Sinclair were arrested and prosecuted on questionable charges, including conspiracy to bomb a CIA office. Illegal wiretaps and FBI infiltration created a climate of paranoia and exhaustion within the organization. Leadership instability also played a role. With both Plamondon and Sinclair in prison at various points, the organization struggled to maintain cohesion. During Sinclair's incarceration, the group changed its name to the Rainbow People's Party in an effort to rebrand and broaden its appeal beyond the often misunderstood White Panther label. This name change also signaled a shift toward community organizing and local political engagement rather than national revolutionary activity. By 1973, amid declining momentum in the broader radical left and the winding down of the Vietnam War, the Rainbow People's Party officially disbanded. Many former members moved on to other forms of activism or focused on local cultural projects. The revolutionary fervor of the 1960s had waned, and the WPP, deeply tied to that spirit, gradually faded from the national stage. Despite this, their influence persisted in the legal, cultural, and community realms. Though its lifespan was relatively short, the White Panther Party left an enduring legacy in both activist and cultural histories. Its founders demonstrated how white radicals could support Black liberation movements without co-opting them, embodying a model of principled allyship that resonates to this day. By organizing within white communities and directing their energy against racism, capitalism, and state repression, they acted as a bridge between countercultural rebellion and political revolution. The WPP's influence extended into the legal realm through landmark court cases that challenged government overreach. The Supreme Court's 1972 decision in the Keith case, stemming from illegal FBI surveillance of the White Panthers, established crucial protections for civil liberties. Similarly, John Sinclair's case catalyzed the movement for marijuana law reform and led to early decriminalization efforts in Michigan. Culturally, the White Panther Party's integration of music, art, and radical politics helped pioneer a new kind of activism. Their use of rock concerts as political platforms, their communal experiments, and their underground press left a model for grassroots cultural resistance. The imagery and messaging of the WPP influenced later movements, from punk collectives to anti-globalization protests, reinforcing the idea that culture and politics are deeply intertwined. In the end, the White Panther Party was more than a political group. It was a revolutionary experiment in living, organizing, and resisting. While it did not achieve a socialist or anarchist revolution, it challenged norms, inspired solidarity, and contributed meaningfully to the fight for justice. Its roar may have quieted, but its echoes remain in movements that continue to demand a world free of oppression, guided by both resistance and imagination.